He diminishes all of his opponents because that's what he needs to do to embolden his own spirit. He needs to diminish these people. He needs to, oh, Dev, he ain't on your level. Oh, he ain't that. He ain't that. Handicap him. They keep saying handicap him. You can't handicap a person with more weapons.
What's up, everybody? It is your girl, Jab Queen Boxer, and we are back for yet another one. So let's go ahead and get into it, baby. Now, obviously, you heard the clip that I played at the beginning of the video. That was Brian Norman Sr. Chatting with Ness over there at the Boxing Voice, and shout out to him. They were talking, obviously about the upcoming fight with him and, Devin Haney. They also, discussed the issue with the bodyguard and so on and so forth. He did go on to explain a couple other things that he noticed within the Haney camp as he was doing his research. So let's just listen to a few things that he had to say, then I'm gonna come back and give my thoughts on what I perceive to be what's going on.
But bottom line is he's beating up little men where he's standing all the way out of reach and all the way out of range, where he has these physical advantages, whether it be feet, whether it be size, whether it be reach. He has all of these physical advantages over these people. You feel what I'm saying? So Devin don't feel comfortable there with bigger fighters at all. I told you from the very start, like, bro, they did not know about the fight. It was them, the Turkey was looking for him a fight. They found him a fight, and he just accepted what they already said, and Bill just jumped in front of the ball.
So, a few things, right? First of all, he is absolutely 100% on point with everything that he pretty much said. I feel similar, if not the same. But before we get into, Devin and his previous fights and his resume and stuff, I want to kind of address what he said about the bodyguard situation. Um, I know previously I had made a video stating that, he let Bill know, if I was on that type of time as you, I would have sued you guys for putting your hands on us type of thing. And then, in this video, he kind of went more into just like how the bodyguard, he should have stepped in, but he really had no right to put his hands on Brian Norman Jr. And also someone put their hands on Brian Norman Sr., as we all saw in the video. This was prior to Brian Norman Sr. even posing any sort of threat to the situation. The bodyguard's job is to de-escalate and kind of make sure that Devin is safe, and he took a different route. He chose to put his hands on Brian Norman Jr., which in fact escalated the situation instead of de-escalating it. So, he was just making that point of contention. Obviously, I guess people were trying to say that Brian Norman Jr. put his hands on Devin. I believe he did tap his chain or something of that nature. But again, the bodyguard's job is to kind of de-escalate and diffuse the situation. And I feel the situation was kind of infused and really kind of blown out of proportion and made worse when the bodyguard stepped in. So those are just my thoughts on that particular situation. Now back to Devin and his I don't want to say his Devin and his resume. And we've discussed this previously on my live a few times that, a lot of Devin's earlier fights in his career were done in Mexico, with smaller guys who don't move as much, who doesn't use as much footwork, possibly as someone his same ethnicity, I'll say, same age and, same reach advantage, right? And we kind of saw that manifest itself when he fought Ryan Garcia last year. Now, albeit the results of that fight were overturned due to Ryan obviously having a dirty um, test for ostarine. However, that does not negate the fact that in that fight, Devin Haney made several mistakes of his own that contributed to his loss. It was not all because of ostarine. So let's just stop saying that, okay? Nevertheless, Ryan did pop dirty, so fine. If you guys want to act like that fight never happened, then fine. Then Devin should still be fighting the way he was fighting prior to that fight, correct? Because Osterine is the only reason that he lost. So then his fight with Jose Ramirez should have looked similar to his previous fights with Jojo Diaz or Lomachenko or Regis Prograis, things of that nature. However, they did not. Moving on, as he stated, and this, he was up there for a number of hours, you know what I mean, discussing this and other things. So, but one thing I will say is that he does make a lot of sense, when he states that Devin is used to having a reach advantage on some of the opponents that he's previously faced. And that is correct. What does Devin's famous line, "You too small"? He loves to say that. I can tell, however, when they had their face off last week, that, he's pretty much looking eye to eye with Brian Norman Jr. And if I'm not mistaken, Brian Norman Sr. said that his son has about an inch arm reach on Devin. So their dimensions are similar, although it appears, and I have to take a closer look, which we will do, obviously, as the fight approaches. We'll dive a little deeper into both of their dimensions and, their resume, things of that nature. But just for now, an overview, it would appear as if they are around the same height and size, right? We do know that Devin is used to using that jab, obviously to control the distance. Brian Norman Sr., obviously, he said in this fight he will not be able to do so because basically my son's jab will reach you before your jab reaches him, pretty much. At the press conference, Devin, to Senior's credit, and I've said this, with the Shakur fan bases, stop disrespecting your opponents, calling them trash, saying that they're not on your level, saying that, you're elite and they're below you. Because when and if you do beat them, you are going to want credit, and people such as myself are not going to give it to you simply because you didn't give them any before you fought them. Now, there's also issues with, he made a statement that Bill has been calling around trying to get tape on Brian Norman Jr. I mean, obviously that sounds about right. You kind of want to know what you're dealing with when you get in the ring, but I guess he's having difficulty getting his hands on it. So, and we've also had this conversation previously on my panel, and as I've been on other panels, about the fact that I really don't think that they wanted this fight, if we're being honest. I still feel that Bill is looking for ways to get out of this fight. I could be 100% wrong, and that'll be okay. You know what I mean? That just means that Devin has bigger balls than I thought. But I have a sneaky suspicion inside of me that says Bill is sweating bullets and his wheels are turning, looking for any way to get himself out of this fight. Just as I played it on my last live, the whole VADA statement. Are you guys signed up for VADA? Indicating that his punching power wasn't natural. Just any type of little smear campaign that he can kind of go on. And I'm glad that the Normans kind of put that to bed right away. So, that's out the window. Now he's going to have to try and come up with something else. But he does have a few months left to wiggle his way out of this and work his magic on ways to try and evade this fight. If he actually gets in that ring, I will definitely look at him in a different light, or just maybe to say all the antics weren't working. But as this fight approaches, I'm sure the antics will ramp up and we will have more to discuss. But for now, I have to say that I 100% agree with Brian Norman Sr. And when and if this fight manifests, we will see what the outcome is. Well, for now, that's all I got. Y'all know what to do. Catch me on a panel, baby.